Game over.
So, where have I been? Well, first off, I've been nursing a voting hangover for, obvious reasons, and trying to get my way back to something that looks like normal for me. So, yesterday, I finally got in the shower because that needed to happen. And today, I need to start my hair because it's way overdue. And so I'm going to be doing that. And but right now, I think I'm going to do a little bit of self-care. I'm going to go in and brush my teeth first and wash my face. And so the only decision I need to make right now with confidence is, will I be using my pink headband set or my gray? Stick around and I'll let you know which one I chose. Well, as you can see, I decided to go with pink. I was going to do the gray, but quite honestly, it reminded me of like a cloudy day and, thunderstorms and torrential downpours. And so I went with the pink because today I want to move toward, rainbows, glitter, and sunshine. And I don't know, maybe a unicorn or two. You know, like I've said before, since finding out that I'm autistic, I've been really taking a step back and rethinking my beliefs on things and rethinking why I do the things that I do. And what I'm finding really interesting is I've always been that person that was like the weird girl. And so for some reason, they just always knew that I could be picked on and bullied, and as I got older, then gaslit. And yeah, I fell right in line with all of those things because I thought it was the normal thing to do. And I wanted to be normal and I wanted to be seen like, everybody else. Because my brain took me back to, I want to say like eighth or ninth grade. I want to say eighth grade social studies. And I thought to myself back then that why does it seem like both sides of politics seems to always pick on the people in the middle? Why are we always the ones that are like bullied and gaslit? And then some of us who are autistic are very impressionable and very naive. And I fall into that category, but typically I am naive about like social interactions and, like being with people. But I'm pretty smart at like other type things, like, seeing patterns in things. Like I see specific patterns in politics. So what I think I'm seeing happening is the majority of us in the middle are being treated like neurodivergence. We're being treated like we're the weird girl. We're being treated like we can bully them. We can gaslight them. And then we can get what we want. I remember back in eighth grade, I did a paper on politics in my social studies class. I was confused as to why we were a democracy. I really enjoyed philosophy, and Aristotle and Socrates were like, my favorite people. And I specifically remember doing that paper with both of those in mind. And then I got to thinking to myself, why aren't we a nation of like polity? Polity is a form of democracy before it moves into democracy. Clear as mud? Stick with me. So, Aristotle had come up with his theory on the structure of politics. And I've been fascinated with it, for most of my life actually. One of the things that he said was, in his estimation, like six different opportunities of government. And the first one he talked about was the monarchy. And the monarchy was ruled by one. So there was a lot of unrest going on, back in the day, and everybody was just kind of going around without much guidance or anything like that. And so they picked the smart guy, to run everything, and he became the monarchy for them. And they chose him as the leader because, he was the smart one. That makes sense, right? The opposite of having that monarchy and having this smart person, helping everybody out, it instead moves to tyranny as its evil twin. And in a tyranny, as you know, it's just ruled, for the one, just for the one person. And that always fascinated me because the masses are letting this one person get away with everything when there's more of them than him, right? And so second in line was aristocracy. The aristocrats, came into the picture. And under an aristocracy, the government is run by the best. You know, they were wealthy, they were taking care of their people, they made sure everybody was fed and everybody was clothed, and, everybody had equal status. And, the aristocracy, reigned for quite a while and was quite successful until, once you start passing it down from family to family and, all those sorts of things, because, in aristocracy, everything stays in the family, then all of a sudden you get cocky and then you get greedy and, and then all of a sudden it becomes, all about the family and all about retaining all of the power and all of the money and all of the favor, right? So in an aristocracy, you have something that is ruled by the best, and then its evil twin is oligarchy. And we know all about the oligarchs, right? They literally own everything. A small handful owns all of the grocery stores, so expect prices to go up. They own all of the newspapers, and they own all of the radio stations, TV stations, those sorts of things. And so if you want true unbiased information, it's best to, find a really good content creator, that's speaking truth, and do that instead. The oligarchy, in his estimation, is the absolute worst out of all of them. And the oligarchy is run, for the few. And typically their individual family structures, right? Then his third thing was democracy. And in his estimation, in Aristotle's estimation, democracy was the worst out of, you know, we've got monarchy, which was the best, and then aristocracy, which was, good, and then we have democracy, which is, the worst of the good. Okay. Because democracy is ruled by the many. And as we see with that, when you have a whole bunch of different perspectives and a whole bunch of different ideas, nobody's going to agree. Absolutely. It's impossible for everybody to agree with everything. It's just not going to happen. People are like, oh, well, I didn't vote for so-and-so because I didn't like this, or I voted for this person because, I like what they said about, this. And, we've become a nation of, I'm going to vote on one thing that's important to me and screw everybody else. See the problem with democracy? That's why I always thought democracy, was a joke, and I didn't understand why we would choose that on purpose, because it doesn't seem to benefit the many. The many think they're in charge, but the many have many things that they want, and then nobody gets anything that they want, right? Because it's being run, by the shadow oligarchs, and we're totally unaware. And it's time to, be more aware. For democracy being at the bottom of the list, it also still has an evil twin. And that evil twin is called mob rule, where everybody all of a sudden just got sick and tired of the oligarchs running things. They finally see what's happening. They finally see that there is no true democracy. We have moved past that. We went from oligarchy And instead of having a nice balance of polity, we let the oligarchs continue to press forward and press forward and press forward. And now they have injected themselves into everything. And that's kind of what we're seeing right now. We're seeing the rise of the oligarchs, and we're seeing the rise of selfishness. And we're seeing the rise of it's all about only the few. And you don't fit in with our definition of few. And so now let me take a step back. So I said that we have democracy, which is the worst of the best, and its polar twin, its twin is mob rule. And so democracy was for the many, ruled by the many, and that's where things got all mucked up. Mob rule, that's everyone for themselves. That's where we don't want to be. One of the things that just really scares, the hell out of me is knowing that seeing the pattern and knowing where we are in the pattern, and knowing that, mob rule is just around the corner. And then also realizing that at our age, we've seen the whole kind of, progression of things. And in our mind, when they talk about, making things great again, in my mind, I want to go back to the polity that we had, because we had polity there for a while. Back then, everybody had a little bit. Everybody had a little bit of something. Everybody had a job. Everybody had a car. Everybody, could afford their rent and could get houses and everything like that, back in the 70s. But then all of a sudden, what happens with a democracy is, even if you're in the middle, which is polity, you're in the middle. So the oligarch, you can't tell the difference, and the democracy, you can't tell the difference. They cancel themselves out. So the middle can support the cause of the republic, okay? And the cause of government. All of a sudden, the middle class will be like, well, he has more than I do, and I want that. Or, well, now this woman took this job, and that used to be a traditional man's job, and I want that job back. And then, well, now I want to go on vacations, and I want a bigger house now, and I want boats. They have yachts. I want one of those. And in a democracy, eventually there's jealousy and greed. And back then it was called keeping up with the Joneses. Remember that? That's what started this whole downfall and this whole demise. And that's kind of what's been on my mind, over the past couple of weeks and everything like that, and causing me to lose sleep, because I'm at a position where I'm like, I don't understand that people, I don't understand why people are so selfish. And I really, really struggle with that. And I use my friend back home as an example. And we were talking, and she was like, well, she goes, I don't believe in everybody coming over here and all these damn immigrants. They need to go back to where they came from. And I said, your grandfather was an immigrant. He migrated here with your mother. She was a child when they came here. And I said, what an entitled thing for you to say. It's okay for people like you to migrate here, but not other people. I said, that's so entitled. And you know what she said to me? She said, well, then you're entitled. You're entitled too. And I was like, how do you mean? She goes, well, you're an immigrant. I said, you mean slaves? See, this is the problem. People get entitled, and they think everybody's like them. Everybody's not like you. I'm not a freaking immigrant. My people were brought here as slaves. And then the core base of my people is Native American. And they were here before anybody. So I looked at my friend and I said, well, I certainly hope if you get what you want, all of you and all of your kind, all of you Europeans, go back to where you came from. because I can stay here. And she looked at me and was like, oh, well, I didn't think of it that way. That's the problem. People don't think. People only think about themselves. And that's why there's never, ever going to be a better way. Yes, things cycle. Pretty soon, we're going to move from this oligarchy and all this bullshit that's going on right now. And there's going to be literally mob rule. And it's going to be ugly. It's going to be dangerous. I was hoping and praying that I wouldn't be here to see it. I hope I'm not, but I have a feeling that it's going to be here sooner than later. And that really concerns me. And that's been keeping me up at night because, I'm in my 60s and my husband is in his 70s. And we're too old to have to deal with mob rule and the injustices of no justice and no police and no safety. I mean, what are we supposed to do, And that scares the hell out of me. It's really cool when you're watching it in Hollywood. I enjoy that, but is that something that I want to enjoy doing for real? No. Back to the book report I was telling you about. So in my book report, I talked specifically about, oh, boo. Well, we'll never get that sewed up, will we? I have a sewing machine and I have needle and thread, but executive dysfunction, it'll never get done. But anyway, so I wrote these down so I wouldn't forget because my brain wanders. Like right now it's going 1,000 miles a minute. And so polity is what polity does is it empowers the middle class, okay? And if economic inequality is kept at bay and everybody is legit treated like equally, then there should be balance. Oligarchy and democracy should blend to a point where you don't see or notice either. And if oligarchy gets out of hand, then democracy steps in. And if democracy goes too far, and what they want, then oligarchy steps in and it's like, but we need to get everybody back to the middle, okay? That is ideal because there's an automatic built-in checks and balance as far as my 8th grade brain could remember. You know what I mean? And then demagoguery seeks support by appealing to the desires of the prejudices and the prejudices of ordinary people. Racism, classism, misogyny, all of those sorts of things come under the guise of democracy, demagoguery, okay? They are appealing to ordinary people rather than being rational, okay? I would call it political opportunists. And that's kind of where we are right now in the world, I think. And I feel it getting bigger. And I feel it moving in a direction that feels uncomfortable. And so that's kind of where I've been. I know this was kind of like all over the place and everything like that, but I just, me, I needed to come on here and, dump my brain out because I haven't been able to sleep very much because I'm like, what is happening with us right now? What am I feeling? It feels different. It doesn't feel like politics. It doesn't feel like a democracy should feel. It's different. And I think it's because we're out of balance, and oligarchy and money and power and selfishness and rule is winning out over democracy. And democracy is having a hard time getting things back in balance because we've been downtrodden for so long and infused with hate and prejudice and desires of ordinary people that is causing a lot of, what we're seeing right now. So anyway, I don't know. Maybe it made sense. Maybe it didn't make sense. I don't know. But at least I got it out of my head. And hopefully I can just move on and start an underground. That's what I think. I think we need to start an underground. And I think we need to go back to ham radios. And I think we need to prepare For the next level of government, which is mob rule. Y'all ready? It's future me. I didn't want to leave you hanging like that with mob rule. I forgot to say, from mob rule, we move into anarchy. Anarchy is a state of disorder due to lack of government and due to lack of no authority system in place. And so anarchy takes over. The thing about anarchy, like I said, everything cycles. Everything is a pattern. Once anarchy wanes out, a new monarch will be chosen, a new person, the smart person that has sense and sensibility. And once we establish the monarchy again, the government ruled by one, then the whole cycle starts all over again. So there's no way to get around any of these cycles. We go through cycles, just like there's birth, toddlers, teenagers, adults, middle age, elderly, and then death. That continues to cycle, as will our government and politics. So, yay. Oh, I almost forgot. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. I'm ready. I'm Random Granny. I've been doing this a long time. I'm tired, but I still got a little bit of fight left in me. So, with that said, get ready for the revolution. Drink plenty of water and stay hydrated. Make sure that brain stays hydrated. We're going to need it. Make sure you eat at least one healthy meal a day. Plenty of protein because we need our strength to get through this new fight. And, get some rest. Anyway, I love you guys. And as usual, I hope you enjoyed spending time with me because I always enjoy spending time with you. And with that, I will see you in my next video.